If you remember, our coefficient of correlation or our R value is negative 0.899. And we have also talked about what is the meaning of that in terms of the sign and in terms of the magnitude. Now, the question now that lies within us is, uh, statistically speaking, is this a significant result? Or is this a significant relationship? Meaning, we ask the question if, is there really a value to R here? Is there really a meaning to the value of R? Or we could actually say, how sure are we that the value that we obtain from this computation, the negative 0.899, did not come from a sampling error or by chance? Because as I was saying, maybe there could be a possibility that the negative 0.899, which is a very strong relationship, by the way, as we have proven in our interpretation, may just be because of sampling error. Or maybe we have just chosen the 10 cities, in this particular case, 10 cities, which could be easily computed into a higher relationship. Or maybe it could be deliberate. As I've said, yeah, we have chosen a certain uh, number of cities which behaves the way we want it to in our computation. So our question is, what is the probability that if we repeat the test, so let's say we go back again to the drawing board, we get another sample of 10 cities, then what, if we repeat that, what is the probability that the other 10 will still obtain the same result? Meaning that there's that relationship, either negative 0.8, negative 0.899, or higher than that. So that's why what we are doing here would be what we call as a significance test. Now, the formula for finding the significance of R in Pearson R is called the t-test. Now, it's different from the t-test that we might have already heard from the comparisons in our research methods. This is still a t-test for significance, and t because we'll be using the t-table, which I will show you later. Okay, so this is the formula. T is equal to R, which is the R value that we have just computed, times the square root of n minus 2. N refers to the number of observations, if we could recall our previous calculation, divided by or over the square root of 1 minus R squared. So there should be, I'm sorry about that, there should be a closed parenthesis after the R squared. Okay, where R is the sample correlation coefficient, meaning the value of R or the coefficient of correlation, and N is the size of the sample or the number of data pairs. So in our case, in our previous example, can you recall this? Diba? What is the value of R? The value of R is negative 0.899 or negative 0.899 times N minus 2, in which N is equivalent to 10 or 10 samples, divided by the square root of 1 minus R squared. So that's negative 0.899 squared. Okay, are you following? You compute it in using your calculators. So take note that our t value now, or depending on certain statistical books, the term would be either the t value or the t computed. So t computed would be regardless of sign. So even if negative siya, it's still plus negative or the absolute value of 5.807. So 5, that's the t computed. And then take note of this other value or that we should compute, the df or the degrees of freedom. So remember that, that's degrees of freedom, that's equal to n minus 2. So n here is 10 minus 2, that's equal to 8. So just take note of that. And then, in terms of our rule of thumb on how should we decide on the significance, that would be based on the t computed or the t value. In this case is 5.807. So these are the decision rules or the rule of thumb for our decisions on the significance. So if the t computed or the t value that we have just calculated is greater than the t tabular, the tabular here, or sometimes called the critical t value, is based on the t-table, which I will show you later. And I think you're familiar with that, with your research methods topics. So you compare the computed t or the t computed to the tabular t. If the computed t or t computed is greater than the one on the t-table, then the relationship is significant. What does it mean if it's significant? Meaning the random sample from the test is not due to chance. Meaning, even if we repeat the same procedure with other data, we will still, the probability is that we will still get the same result from the population at alpha. We'll talk about alpha later, or the significance level. But if it's otherwise, ang result, meaning the t-value or t-computed is less than, take note of the sign, is less than the tabular, meaning it's not significant. Meaning the value of negative 0.899 that we have is because of chance. We have a high magnitude of relationship. The reason for that would probably because we just got the best data from a set of values that follows the pattern that we are thinking of in the association. So meaning it's because it's due to chance, if we repeat the same test, we get other randomly selected sample, there would be a different result, even a lower result. So it's lesser than negative 0.899 ang ato ang result. If we do that on the other randomly selected sample, if our R value is not significant. So how do we get the tabular value? This is the t-table. So if you notice the t-table, there's a number on the left-hand side, and there are also numbers on the upper horizontal na kuan. So upper left-hand, vertical, and then sa horizontal, there are numbers. So the numbers here sa vertical, this is the DF or the degrees of freedom. You remember our degrees of freedom? Kanina nga itong i-compute?
Yes, sir.
Our DF equation is n minus 2. So that's number of samples minus 2. So equal to 8. And then the alpha level or the significance level. Now, let's go back to the kuan. Let's see what's the meaning of the alpha level. Okay? So the alpha level, or also denoted as alpha, or the Greek letter for alpha, means the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true. So for example, if we have a 0.05 significance level, we can easily interpret that as 5%, right? 0.05 is also 5%. That's the decimal form of 5%. So an alpha level or significance level of 5 indicates that there's a 5% risk of concluding that a relationship exists when there is no actual relationship. Meaning, in layman's terms, there's a 5% chance that you could be wrong with your generalization. Actually use 0.05. So at 0.05, let's say piliun na to ang 0.05, unsay naa diri nga kuan? Unsay naa nga value nga mag-meet pud siya sa atong DF or degrees of, nakuha ninyo anong 8 atong degrees of freedom or DF dire or kaning V?
Yes, sir.
Itong n minus 2, di ba? So regardless kung pila ang n, i-minus 2 nimo mao gyud na imong DF. So 1.860. So mao ni gamit, remind nato ang tong kaugalingon na 1.860 is the tabular T. Nakuha na ninyo? Asa na to na-encounter tong tabular T? Or T tabular. We go back to this. Nakuha na ninyo nganong na-tabular, napoy computed. Unsa ato ang T tabular?
1 point. Kila to?
Okay, 1.860. Pila ang ato ang T computed?
5.807.
Okay, very good. So 5.807 ang computed, 1.86 ang tabular. So what do you think? Asa diri ang correct nga desisyon nato? Kinsay mas greater, computed o tabular?
Computed.
Okay, the T computed is greater than the T tabular.
Significant lo wala sir.
Okay, very good. So significant ang atong relationship. Kaya gigamit na tong 0.05 nga alpha. So what does it mean? Significant ang relationship between hospitals and MMR at 0.05 alpha level. Kung sa ganit pasabot kung 0.05,
5% nga sir.
Sir,
okay, 5% ang
probability of rejecting.
okay, ang probability nga nasayop ta sa ato ang pag-assume nga naay relationship ning duha. Or kung inato, 5% ang chance nga sipiat ko sa ako ang gi-conclude. Although even at 0.001 significant gyapon siya, di ba? Kay tanaw pilay value sa 0.001. 4.501. Significant pa ba gyapon siya maski ni set na tong 0.001?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Kita ko pa, sir, computed.
Mas dako gyapon 5.8, di ba? 5.807. So even at 0.001 significant gyapon siya. So mo na ang gamit ani dire. So pwede ka maka-conclude nga even at 0.001 significant siya. Pero usahay naman goy there are problem sets, di ba? Katanawon ninyo itong ako ang mga example nga giset na ko daan ng alpha na is it significant at 0.05 or pwede ko mingon at 0.01 or 0.001. Now, because there are cases, manggod, there are cases nga dili siya significant sa 0.001 pero significant siya at 0.01. Di ba? For example, ang value is kuan 3.5. So meaning, significant siya at 0.01 pero dili siya significant at 0.001. Meaning, acceptable siya in this particular significance level. So, a 10% nga risk of being wrong, significant siya. Pero not higher than that. Dili na safe nga moingon ka significant of 0.001. So there's a significant negative relationship between number of hospitals and MMR at 0.001 level. So mo na to kung iset na to at 0.001 dire. So pwede na to magamit na at 0.001. So as I've said, mostly kung sa research di na ta kayo ta mo gamit og 0.001 if it's kuan lang mga social nga inani, social economic research inana. Or 99 later we'll talk about confidence level. Murag bali ra na sa kuan. Ang confidence level is the percentage nga bali. So that's the level of confidence. So 0.001 level or 99.9% confidence level. So meaning if you repeat the same test randomly 1,000 times, chances are we will get the same result or higher 999 times. So mo na ipasabot po sa 0.001 level. Balik-baliko na to og test, mupili na po tag lahi na po nga napulo ka city. Ka 1,000 ta magbuhat ana. Out of 1,000 ka isa ra ta masayop nga malahi ang atong answer or lower than 0.89 na atong answer. 999 times either 0.899 or mas taas pa ana ang atong result. So ano ipasabot aning 0.001 level. Confidence level, percentage of all possible samples that can be expected to include the true population parameter. Or meaning, kapila ta mag-repeat sa atong experiment, pila ka percent ato nga the same gyapon or more than that ang atong result. So how to compute confidence level is just 1 minus alpha times 100%. 1 minus A. So kung 0.05, 1 minus 0.05, that's 0.95 times 100, so that's 95% confidence interval. So depende na sa inyo. Mostly, enough na ang alpha level lang. At 0.05, there's a very high negative relationship between these two variables. So okay na moingo 0.05. Pwede you can also say it something like this, that there's a very strong negative relationship between hospitals and MMR at 95% confidence level. And it also means the same thing. So if the t-test reveals a non-significant value, meaning, kung sa gani instances nga dili siya significant, if your t computed is less than the tabular. So di siya kaabot kung unsa ang nasa table. So meaning it's not significant. So what should you do? So the interpretation ends there. The magnitude or the R or the correlation coefficient or the Pearson R as well as the R squared doesn't mean anything. So useless na tong very strong or moderate relationship or very high or or pila ang R squared, the percent in the variation of Y is pila ka percent of 1, it doesn't mean anything. So kung dili siya significant, diretso ra gyud ka moingon nga dili significant ang relationship. Because there are instances
Yes,
na also
sir.
kung very high ang iyahang relationship, meaning 0.8 pataas, 0.7 even, dako nag-possibility nga significant siya. Pero dito ka malibog gamay sa kanang mga 0.4 or 0.5 kanang mga moderate relationship. Sometimes maskin abi nimo 0.4 moderate ang relationship pero dili din siya significant. Pag t-test nimo pag-test nimo sa significance, di kaabot ang t-computed sa t-tabular. So meaning dili siya significant. So walay value na even if moderate tong di na ka pwede mo ingon nga moderate ang ilang relationship pero dili significant. Dili ka pwede mo inana. Idiretso na gyud nimo nga dili significant. Sometimes there are instances nga 0.3 lang 0.3 lang ang value sa R but it could be significant. Especially in social science nga mga aspect kay di ba di man kayo we are not very strict with the alpha level. So at 0.05 sometimes it can still be significant, even 0.3. Meaning even if moderate or low ang relationship but it's still significant because meaning sa significance, if you notice atong discussion, meaning sa significance is that even if we repeat it, we still get the same results or higher. So mao na meaning sa significant. So even if sometimes very high siya pero dili significant, meaning kanang relationship maskin balik ko na natong kuan basin lahi na pud ang result if we look for other cities nga data. So be careful with that also. So if it's not significant, di na nato i-appeal pag-interpret ang very high ba siya or kuan or negative or di na gani mag-matter negative positive kay di man siya significant. Inana. So mo nang nila nga kuan. Maskin pag unsa daw ka strong imong relationship magbulag gihapon mo di wa lang gihapon yung relationship. Di ba?
Gani, sir.
So,
Yan sir.
correct.